that's what I want to talk about today, which was how you can actually structure your water at home for free. Because there's many different ways of structured water. So that's really what I wanted to get into today. So people that don't have the money to purchase a Water Hero device or other structuring devices, they have at least access to structured water. And many of you are actually eating or drinking structured water now, and you don't even know it. So we can talk about all that.
Hey, Inspired Tribe, my fellow freedom lovers. John Nolan here. Thank you so much for tuning in for another inspiring conversation. And we're going to continue with this guest today, a conversation about one of the most, if not the most important substance for us humans in this realm, in this world, which is water. Something I've been fascinated with for many, many years. And the more I study, the more I learn, the more amazed I am just at how little, collectively speaking, we currently know and how much there is to know. Water is actually this miraculous thing, and there are many ways that we can upgrade our water right here, right now, where we are, and turn it into something better. So please welcome with me our dear friend and founder of Chemical Free Body, Tim James, to discuss this with me.
Hey,
Hey, brother.
Sean, how's it going, brother?
Hey, it's always a great day when you're on a show, brother, tuning in from Oregon. How are things over there?
Awesome. Awesome. We've been getting a little bit of rain. We desperately needed it. And now it's sunny today. So things are good.
Good. So, thank you for coming back on. We talked about water a couple of weeks ago.
Hmm.
I think a really important show, and we're going to expand a little bit on that later on. But, Tim, there's so little that folks really know about water. We think it's the it's the fluid that comes out of the faucet, but really that isn't really water. What comes out of our faucets, what is found in most places, isn't water anymore. It shouldn't even be called the same thing. We want to talk about how we can upgrade it, how important it is to upgrade the water to bring it more to its natural state, and how different our bodies react to the real thing versus what we're presented with. So I'm kind of going to let you start wherever you want to start, brother.
Okay. Well, just to give a little bit about my background, when I learned about how important water was a long time ago, I learned about Dr. Emoto's work back in 2011 on how you could like say things to water or pray towards the water, and it would literally change the structure of the water. So anybody has not looked that up, it's really cool. So they take water and they say love, 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 and then they freeze it and they look at the pattern of the ice crystals. Or they'll say gratitude, I'm very grateful, I'm so grateful, and they freeze it and look at the pattern of the crystals. Or they say hate, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, and then they freeze it and they look at the pattern of the crystals. And it's quite shocking. Like when you're using loving emotions and stuff like that towards the water, the crystals are gorgeous and beautiful and these amazing structures. And when you're using like hate and anger and fear, the structure is completely and this is it's kind of chaotic looking. And so me being new to this whole stuff and health stuff in 2011, that's when I kind of turned everything around for my health. um I was more open-minded, but it still sounded kind of woo-woo. But when you're looking at pictures of it, it's like it's completely different. And they actually talked about water and also plants, because plants are full of water, and how plants and frequency. So I was my whole garage got turned into a sprout growing operation, and we were delivering sprouts and wheatgrass to 40 to 50, 60 cancer patients a week in the Portland metro area, Vancouver area. And so I did an experiment, and I took my boom box, for those of you who remember those things.
I do. I used to carry one around, brother.
Yeah, and I cranked up, like I put it on the hard rock station, like heavy metal station, and literally the grass like grew away from it. And then I switched it to classical radio, and the grass grew towards the classical. It was really interesting. I also diffused like essential oils into the room. I kept the humidity perfect. I just did a lot of stuff. I took really good care of these plants. There was zero chemicals in there. But I kind of learned from that. I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing, right? About frequency and stuff like that. So I was always like, we had well water when I lived in Damascus, which is basically a suburb of Portland, Oregon. and we moved to Tigard, Oregon. Things changed. I split up with my gal. She moved clear across town, and she was commuting back and forth, taking the kids to school because they were still going to our schools very close to my house. So what I did was, as I moved, she decided to move the kids to the Tigard schools. So I moved into Tigard, and I got on city tap water. Well, right after that, my new wife, had started getting um, dandruff really bad. Okay. And I was pretty young. I was in my early 30s then. She was in her 20s, and she started buying this $20 cream, this $30 serum, and this $50 thing. And then finally she bought one that was like $70. I'm like, Jesus, like, we got to figure this out. Like, this costs a lot of money here. She was beside herself because she had dandruff, and she's like young and healthy, supposedly, and just stupid. And so then I learned about the water thing. And so I bought a Pelican water system, which was like a very inexpensive, basically a big, huge carbon filter. It wasn't some state of the art thing. It was just a big whole house, huge carbon filter. In fact, it was like I think $600 or $800, and when you had to replace it, it was like $600. So most of the cost was just basically that big old huge chunk of carbon. And guess what happened? Not only did the smell of the chlorine and stuff just disappear, and the weird feeling of the water, my wife's dandruff went away.
That's
And
incredible.
it was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I'm like, how was I even? I mean, I was drinking the water, but I knew something was wrong with it. And then when I switched it, all of a sudden the water was amazing, and her hair got better. I'm like, we have the best water in the world. And then I was introduced to distillation. So I got a water distiller. And then when I had that water versus the tap water that was going through that big carbon filter, I could no longer even drink that carbon filter. And I was cleaning myself up at the time. I was detoxing more, right? So I became more into tune, and like all of a sudden, there's no way I could drink the water that went through that Pelican big carbon filter. I had to have distilled. It was so much better. And then a few years later, somebody told me about this other system. I dropped another like couple grand. I got this triple purification system. It was like a reverse osmosis, a specialized reverse osmosis. Actually, there was a filter, then a pre-filter, then a specialized reverse osmosis, which is a form of purification, and then a deionizer, which is another form of purification, another deionizer. Then the water went through a UV light to kill microbes. And then it was like a 16-stage system, restructuring infrared bowls in it, all this stuff. Now drinking that water, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not drinking distilled anymore. And then I went to a Kangen unit, and I learned about molecular hydrogen. I did that for a while, but then I learned the Kangen units have to have impurities in the water to work. So when I paired them with water that went through that 16-stage system, it just didn't work anymore. And then they have very crude filtration systems. So, long story short, I ended up doing I've been at water for a long time, and now recently, a couple years ago, I realized I need to do an upgrade on my water again. I'm like, okay, it's time. Let's go research what's out there. And that's when I was like, I had a download from God saying you need quantum water. Well, here I am, a redneck. I really don't even understand what quantum is, except I think it's kind of fast and it zips around in space or something. It's amazing. That's about all I know. Okay, I'm not very scientific on some of these things. But what it means is things in quantum field can happen very quickly, instantaneously. We can tap into this field and we can have instant healing, all kinds of stuff. So what's quantum water? Well, I don't know. Well, all of a sudden, this guy Joseph comes into my life, and he's got this water device he'd been uh, um, designed years ago, and a company was selling them, and then they stopped paying him and started making them themselves, but they weren't making them correctly, so they weren't working. So they were selling very expensive aerators, and they were duping people, which is not cool. But that's the choice that some people make. That's what they want to do. So we picked him up. We started selling that technology, and I got into structured water. And so that's what I want to talk about today, which was how you can actually structure your water at home for free, because there's many different ways of structured water. So that's really what I wanted to get into today. So people that don't have the money to purchase a Water Hero device or other structuring devices, they have at least access to structured water. And many of you are actually eating or drinking structured water now, and you don't even know it. So we can talk about all that.
I love that, and I want to say that we need to be fully self-responsible and intentional with this, because On the flip side of this, they're also very intentional. And I knew this, but it really hit home a few years back. Christine and I were putting on the Yado retreats, and we had this older gentleman who, at the end of the retreat, we had a long conversation. He told me that as an engineer, he was commissioned many, many years ago to design a water filtration system for some municipality, it was a city, to filter their city water. And so he came up with this amazing filtration system that basically, once the water went through, it was completely clean, but also, of course, completely void of anything, any minerals and anything that we might need. So simultaneously, he showed them how to remineralize the water, but also how to restructure the water, and how it's supposed to be a living, uh, uh, sort of harmonious geometrical substance. And they said, no, thank you. All we needed was the filtration. And then he came, a few weeks later, or months later, he came back, and what they really did was just dump a lot of chemicals and fluoride and all that crap into the water. So there is negligence at best, or ill intent, probably more than anything, to make our water bad. So we really need to take it upon ourselves. That's why this show is so important to me, close to my heart. We really want to provide ways for everyone to do the best they can to have the best possible water. So, Tim, what can people do at home right now?
Well, right before I get into that, I think you're hitting on an important point about, I mean, imagine what if the water's being intentionally poisoned, like at many levels. And why is that happening? Well, I believe that it's happening, and yes, it is happening. And don't get into fear mode. Just understand it is what it is, and now what can you do about it? And be empowered about it. And then once you figured out your environment, you got your water right, you're good to go, right? And then you can share that good health and great water with other people. But the reality is imagine a world where instead of where 74% of people hate their job, everybody was doing exactly what they loved. Everybody had abundant health. There was nobody that was sick. And in the very few people that did get sick or disease, we had frequency and sound medicine and stuff like that, and herbs that would just work, and we just fix them right up. Imagine if everybody got along. Imagine if kids were able to, you could just keep all your doors unlocked at night, and there were no borders. And human beings went around freely, and all adults cared for all children like they were their own. And everybody's skin glowed, and everybody was happy. This is why the poisoning, because this is the potential of humanity. This is our true natural vibrational state of unconditional love.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the thing. This is why we're here. We're here because we need to remember what we are. We need to remember that our true vibrational frequency is unconditional love, and that's all that we are. And coming to Earth, it's a kind of a rough place, but it's rough because it's here to create resistance so that we can grow and remember who we are. And even through the nastiest, dirtiest, roughest pedophilia type, child trafficking type of a world that we're living in today, that the human can still go through all of that and still become enlightened and still remember and become unconditional love. So
Oh, yeah.
really
Tim
cool stuff.
James, you're my kind of redneck.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's more of us are popping up now. Thank goodness. I thought I was kind of weird, but guess not. So anyway, okay. So back to the water. So what are some ways where you can structure your water home? And first off, what is structured water? Okay. So you have there's been these three phases. We talked about this last time you had me on. Most people know about three phases of water, which is it's in liquid, like the water we drink. It's in a solid, the ice. We make ice with it. And it's in a gas. It's, steam. But there's also a fourth phase of water. This is a gel-like state. It's called exclusion zone water, or EZ water. The E for exclusion, the Z for zone.
Like the stuff
Exclusion.
that comes out of an aloe.
Exactly. So when you crack open aloe, it's like a gel. It's the same thing when
Mhm,
you snap open a cucumber. The
mhm.
water inside of all plants is already structured. So here's the good news. When you eat the raw or living plants, like pick the plant on the spot and eat it, or eating a vegetable that hasn't been cooked, you're actually consuming structured water. Many animals that live in the deserts don't ever drink water. They get their water from the plants that they eat, or the animals that ate the plants. They're getting it secondhand, but they're getting it, and it's getting structured water. So plants are one way of getting lots of structured water into you if they're raw and living, and especially if they've been fresh picked. Now, this is why so many people, and like Hippocrates Health Institute, and they now call it the Wellness Center, Hippocrates Wellness Center in West Palm Beach, Florida. They've been teaching, when you go there, you're going to be drinking fresh pressed wheatgrass juice twice a day, and you're going to be drinking fresh pressed green juices with cucumber, celery, and fresh sunflower and pea sprouts. They're going to be flooding your body with green juices. But in reality, why is it working? Why do people come there with all kinds of cancers and health issues and all this kind of stuff, and they put them and flood them with all these green juices, all these phytochemicals? But why are they getting better? Well, one of the reasons is because it's also structured water. These green juices are made up of, they're just concentrated structured water with tremendous amounts of phytonutrients or plant nutrients, hormones, oxygen, again, phytonutrients, and enzymes. So that plants structure the water. So that's the first free thing. So if you're growing anything at home, even herbs and stuff, when you eat those herbs, there's structured water in those herbs. When you pull a cucumber from your garden and you eat it, you're eating structured water. So that's a very simple way for people to get more structured water into their body, is through plants. Now, there's two other fun ones that we use all the time in coaching, especially with people with severe gastrointestinal issues, or people that just want to have good hair, nails, that kind of stuff, look beautiful, glow, and it's getting more structured water. One of them is flaxseed water. Okay. When you soak flax in water, it creates a gel-like substance. This is the structured water. And this is, we have a 4 Core Secrets ebook. And in that ebook, I give the recipe on um, how to make flax water. I learned about flax water from a gal who runs the colon hydrotherapy department at Hippocrates, and she was in her 60s, and she was like a spitfire. I mean, she was so full of energy and so exciting to listen to, and she was so excited about colonics and what they did for her, because she had severe gastrointestinal issues, and colonics were a foundational thing where they cleaned up her gut and she healed. And she also was just a big a proponent as flax water. Creates great omega oils. It's very cooling and soothing and healing to the gastrointestinal tract. It's awesome. And so flax water is great. And then also chia seeds. When chia seeds hit water, they create that little gel. Many people know they're having chia water. We use chia water is so good for you. Oh my God. Chia seeds are very inexpensive. And you can also make chia pudding. When you soak chia seeds in water, you're actually structuring the water.
Hmm.
So this is a very, very easy way to make water that's structured, having chia seeds and flax seeds. Now, we don't drink the flax seeds, we strain them, but we do drink the chia seeds. Okay. You could drink
Okay.
the flax seeds. You could, I guess. I don't do it, but yes, you could. Um, I heard of some stuff about that years ago, about where if people have diverticulosis or diverticulitis or something like that, irritable bowel syndrome, sometimes those seeds could get stuck in little pockets and cause infection. So I've always strained the seeds. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know. So,
So I know that people can probably look this up, but how long would you have to keep the seeds, either the flax or the chia seeds in there, for the water to be
oh,
structured?
minutes,
Okay,
minutes.
so it's really fast.
Yeah, it's minutes. The chia
Oh,
seed water
okay.
is, it's just, you just got to shake it, wait a minute, shake it again, wait a minute, shake it again. You just got to keep shaking it, because it'll clump together otherwise, which is no big deal, but I like it all free and floating around. And shake it a few times within the first 3 or 4 minutes, and then you just take it with you. You got it with you.
And
You can also take chia
optionally,
seeds with you.
you do
What's
that
that?
with filtered water, not with straight tap water, right?
I mean, you can do it with whatever you got, I guess,
Sure, but you would
right?
want to do it, yeah.
You want to clean your water up as best as you can. Some amazing things happen during the structuring process. And one of them is it's actually changing the bond angle of the water. So, a lot of water that's being tested today that's been manipulated by man falls at 105.4 degree bond angle. Okay, what does that mean? I don't really know. Okay, it's 105.4. And some reason it's not good. All right. The natural structured water is at a 120 degree bond angle. This is hexagonal sacred geometry. You mentioned that earlier, right? It's the structure. It's this divine structure. And when you can convert water from 105.4 back to its natural coherent state of 120 degrees, the water becomes structured and it becomes this exclusion zone water. And so now, probably one of the most important things today is hydration. And when you're drinking 105.4 degree bond angle water, you're going to drink a lot of water and you're going to be kind of dehydrated. You can actually drink very little structured water and get great hydration. So it's awesome. It's really good. And again, you can structure it with chia seeds. You can structure it with flax water. You can juice vegetables and have structured green water, basically green juice, or you can just eat the vegetables. These are ways to start getting structured water. Structured water is going to improve gastrointestinal and gut microbiome. Structured water is going to improve your mitochondrial function to create ATP, which is going to produce more energy. Structured water is going to help you hydrate your brain better. We know that people that are dehydrated are literally dumber. Their IQs drop. The difference between having adequate amounts of water in your system, especially your brain, is the difference between finding your car keys or hunting around for them for 15, 20 minutes because you can't remember where they're at. We literally becomes more dumb with when we're dehydrated. So structured water can help with that. Structured water is also going to help hydrate the cells so we can take in more nutrients. Structured water is going to help to detoxify the cells so we can get the toxins out. And structured water is also going to help one of our major pathways of elimination called the lymphatic system, which works on water, oxygen, and movement. So one of the main components, water, is now you're getting a more better form of water, and it's going to get into the lymphatic system better to help you remove unwanted waste materials and all this other crap we're getting sprayed with nowadays. And it's put in the water and the air. So pretty cool stuff. So plants, that's one way you can get water. Now, another way you can get structured water is in a stream. If the water's moving at least 2 meters per second, so if you have a point here and you time the water, you could put a little cork or something going by. If it moves 2 meters within 1 second, that water's naturally structured. So if you get a quick moving stream or river, you can drink out of that and you're going to get the benefits of structured water. Okay. Some springs, the water coming up out of the springs will be structured. So that's another way you can get spring water. The only downside of spring water is that it can have a lot of inorganic minerals in it. And, if you're going to be consuming that type of water every day for the rest of your life, those inorganic minerals could lead to hardening of the arteries, gallstones, and kidney stones. Not something you want to probably deal with. But if you're out in nature and you need to get some structured water, onesie twosie, no big deal, knock yourself out. This is where our structuring device comes in, because even if you're getting natural spring water and you have a well and it goes into a cistern, or it's up above your property and you're having it run down from big pipe to smaller pipe to create pressure, however you're doing, if you have natural spring water, artesian wells, and they have too many inorganic minerals, when they run through our structuring device, it's also going to restructure the minerals themselves. So things like calcium in the form of calcites and aragonites, which are very angular, hard forms that create that hard water, will then be restructured to the hexagonal, sacred 120-degree bond angle vaterite structure of calcium, which is then a very sought out form, not only for our body and our cell mitochondria, but also for strawberries and many other plants. Strawberries become very sweet when they have the proper form of vaterite calcium in the soil. So when we irrigate with this type of water, especially like on strawberry crops, you're going to have very sweet, delicious strawberries because they have the necessary amounts of vaterite calcium in there. So you can get it spring water, you can get it through running water, 2 meters per second. Some people are actually doing vortexing. This is where water is spun in like a spiral vortexing motion, mimicking the natural flow of the rivers that we just talked about. And this is like based on Victor Schallenberger's work and his inspired tools that he's used. I actually just talked to David Wolf last week, and we were doing a video conference, and he goes, dude, you have no idea, I'm so into water. And he goes, this Victor Schallenberger's grandson gave me this was one of his units, and he has it on his house, and he showed me all his pipes and all the stuff he was doing to structure his water. And I'm like, this is so cool. So he was totally into water too. Another way to structure water, which is really cool that you can do for free, is in the morning. right when the sun comes up, look at look pretty much directly or around this indirectly at the sun. Make sure the sun's coming into your eyes for 90 seconds, a minute and a half, and you actually structure a bunch of water that's in your body through your eyes. Pretty cool stuff. And Gina Bria, who runs High Flow Labs, that did our certification, she taught me that. She's like the super, like, she her whole life is about structured water, especially for agricultural purposes, and she's been into this. She literally created the hydrationfoundation.org and High Flow Labs, and we are one of only 2 or 3 companies in the entire world that are actually certified as structured water devices, as an example. But she said if you just look at the sun for 90 seconds, you can structure a bunch of water in your body. So I'm like, adding that into my routine every day.
As a
So I
matter of
just,
fact, I would encourage everyone who has access to the sun first hour of the day and last hour of the day to do some sun gazing. And you just add 10 seconds every day and you just keep doing it. You'll see some amazing effects. I just didn't know it structured water inside of me. So, that's just an added bonus. And I'm still
yeah.
amazed that you're telling me that if I have like let's just say I have a very average or simple method of filtration, so I get at least the worst stuff out, and I put chia seeds in my water, shake a little, wait a little, shake a little, wait a little, drink it. I'm drinking structured. That is pretty amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, and then also, I mean, I forgot, like, the Victor Schallenberger thing. Well, the you can, or excuse me, Emoto stuff, his work, praying to the water, talking to the water, saying things. If you say like, "I water, I'm giving you permission. I love you so much. I want you to structure yourself and then love me back with the most beautiful structured water." If you have these conversations with your water, I know some of you think it's woo woo, but this shit works. I mean, it works. It's been proven over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it just keeps working. So, like,
Brother,
you
I gotta
can't
say
not pay
something.
attention to this.
Religiously, I would write affirmations, like the things that really, at any given moment in your life, you have a few things that are really on your heart that you want to see come to fruition in your reality. I wrote down those affirmations every single night, put them on a piece of paper, put the jug of water on top of it, or and let it sit overnight. It infused itself with that information. So that's not necessarily structuring in the way that you talk about it, but it gave it that information, and I drank that water, and I can guarantee you that it helped with the entire process. So, like you say, loving on the water, asking and giving it instructions lovingly to structure itself, playing beautiful harmonious music, praying around it, meditating around it. Those are all things that will improve your water 100%.
Yeah. Just natural, like you said, natural sunlight or infrared light can structure water. Some people, you can just put take the water, set it outside on the ground in glass, and just let the sunlight hit it for a couple hours. Um, there's, let's see what else. What's another way? Crystals, as an example.
Mhm.
There are certain crystals like quartz or shungite where people have used these natural minerals that can restructure through these vibrational influences. Right? So one of the things in our water hero technology are very certain quartz crystals that we get mined out of Brazil, and the inventor picked them because these certain type of quartz have a very special resonant frequency, and that resonant frequency is harmonious with water. And so he picks those crystals, and I know some people get crystals like that and then they run the water through them and it goes through that S pattern and it does structure the water. But what he did was he's a little bit smarter, and so he learned how to get the right crystals, cut them a certain way, and then place them. There's a very specific pattern that he places them in, and then it like supercharges the water too. What it'll actually do is it will create what's called an endothermic reaction. So when the water goes through this system, and remember, it's not plugged into nothing. It's copper and brass, quartz crystals specifically cut and placed. And then he's got this ormus coating on the outside of it that's literally like seawater, morning dew water, ash minerals, and then a plant resin to put this homeopathic like mineral frequency into the water as it goes through as well, the vibrational frequency of minerals, not the actual minerals themselves. Anyway, when the water passes through the water hero system, it drops in temperature. It'll drop 0.4 to 0.7 degrees depending on the amount of pressure of the water going through. The more pressure, the more gallons per minute, the more endothermic reaction happens. What is an endothermic reaction? Well, that's bringing energy into solution. It's like a free energy device. Like it ain't plugged into nothing. So the positive and the negative are getting charged up. The minerals are also getting restructured because of this thing he's developed. And so you can do the other ways of doing it and structuring the water, but I don't know if an endothermic reaction is happening in the river or not. I wouldn't know how to do that, or in the cucumbers or the aloe vera. I don't know that stuff. But I think I do know, because we know that when we put glyphosate into a soil sample from main ingredient Roundup and then treated it with the water hero water, the glyphosate goes away somehow. And so rainwater and river waters out in people's crops and stuff like that are getting water, and farmers, they still have glyphosate present in the soil. So it actually has to be doing something, because it's either activating bacterium that are destroying it, or it's destroying it directly. We don't know yet. I have tests going on right now inside of Ohio State University at a lab to figure out if it's happening in the thing, or if it's doing it in the soil itself through bacterium. So I guess actually we do know it is different. So it's just it's more of an advanced features that come with this system. But again, you can still get structured water, which is way better than the 105.4 degree, modern water today that's been messed around by man. So we've got crystals that can come in contact to. There are also some magnetic devices that people have used to structure it. And again, coconut water, cucumber water, raw, fresh pressed juices, that kind of stuff. These are the different staring at sunlight, using sunlight. These are some of the ways: talking to the water, praying, and vortexing. These are different ways you can spring water and river water, doing 2 meters per second. These are different ways that people can, at home or out in the river, structure their water for free.
I love that. Thank you, Tim. And I think to me, it's so empowering to know there's something I can do where I am with what I have. You know what I mean? That's like always empowering. So no matter where you are today, you can get started. You can use these as inspirations. You can experiment and try and just do it. You know what I mean? Rather than just saying, "Oh, I can." You can. You just got a number of ways to give it a start. And then, Tim, there are also people out there who, saying, "Hey, this water hero thing that you're talking about, what is it really like? What does it do?" It's kind of like the super upgrade that you could get for your home. And there are some absolutely amazing effects that come from that water. And some people just say, "Hey, I want it ready made. I want it to be part of my water system, and I don't want to think about it." So, can you tell us a little bit more about the water hero and why it is making, no pun intended, so many waves?
Well, again, like, the technology's way over my head. Like, I just know that it works. We have a handheld device that is now out of stock. We've sold so many of them since we've launched in the last couple months. We're anticipating. I don't. I have to. Let me look on my website really quick. Um, Let me even see if it's. Yeah, oh yeah, it went out of stock today. I knew it was going to. If you want to, we're gonna. I need to have him put up a thing on there so it says waiting list, so people can get on the waiting list. Until that pops up, if people want it, then they can just send an email to support@chemicalfreebody.com and say, "Hey, it's me. I want to get on the waiting list," or whatever. Because we're expecting mid to late June, hopefully, to have be restocked. But anyway, so we have a handheld device, so you can travel with it. You can do it at home. It's also less expensive, for those of you that might not be able to afford, or just not like sure of it yet. Like, is this really good? Um, then we have a 3/4 inch whole house unit and a 1 inch whole house unit. Both of them do the same thing. You put them on the main line coming into the house that then goes to the hot water, and then you want to do that before. And then if you have one bathroom or two people or less in the home, you get a 3/4 inch. If you have 2 bathrooms, 3 people or more, then you get a 1 inch. And this is just a volume thing because the smaller the size, the less the pressure and stuff like that. So,
And that means that your entire water, I assume it's installed where the water comes into the home.
yep.
So your entire water is on that. That means, I mean, that's,
Every yeah,
I looked at the numbers, of course we looked at I think it's actually an incredibly a doable investment if you think about the investment of a house, and then you install that, and how that improves the quality of your water and hence the quality of your life and health. I think it's probably one of the greatest value systems I've seen in a long time.
yeah. Well, it's kinda like a grounding sheet, right? Um, when people come to me and they have stage 4 cancer or they've got Graves' disease or fibromyalgia and they're just Parkinson's and they're freaked out, and they wanna heal. Um, there's a lot of changes. They have to change their lifestyle. That takes work, that takes effort, that takes thought, it takes action. So when people come to me, I like to put things in place that are just kind of automatic. Like somebody's going to lay down and go to bed every night. If I can have them one time take action and put a grounding sheet on their bed, and now every time they lay down, they're grounding, reducing the inflammation in their body, helping them getting to a deeper sleep. It's set it and forget it. It's the same thing with these water systems. You get a water purification system in place. You get a water hero system, restructuring all the water in your home. It's done. You don't got to think about it. You just drink the water. You take a bath in the water. You shower in the water. You water your plants, the dogs with the water. That's it. You just use the water. You don't have to think about it. I like saunas too. I like the infrared saunas. Once you have one, you just get in the damn sauna. You don't got to think about it. It's there. Just get in it.
To me, and I understand everybody has different situations, so there's no one size fits all solution. But a long time ago, we started to think in a different way. When you do the kind of research that we all do, you start realizing just with how much shit our body needs to deal with. So there are two ways to approach this. You either just sort of ignore it until it becomes a problem, and then you have to go into repair mode, which is usually very, it's difficult, it's painful, and it's very costly no matter which route you go, mainstream or not. It costs a lot of money to go into repair mode. You lose time because you can't work, you got to, all those things. So eventually you go, what investments can I make that are meaningful, both in energy, knowledge, time, but also what investments can I make financially in things and solutions that allow me to never get to that point where I need to fix something, that allow me to stay healthy. And that's a mindset shift. And if we were to do the math, if what we invest in those sort of preventative or optimizing stuff is far less than we would have to invest later on in the healing
Yeah.
process. And so it's a mindset shift, but it's always do what you can with what you have where you are. Our intention is to provide as many possibilities and solutions so that people can be at their best health and be the best version no matter what their budget is. And that's really important to me, Tim.
Yeah. If we take away all the roads and the bridges and the electricity and all the stuff we've modern man, we don't even have to have this conversation. We just go
Yeah,
outside, pick food, eat it, drink the water. Everybody's good to go.
exactly.
There's no pollution. It's amazing. We're all glowing, doing what we love. We don't need to talk about this, but we live in the modern world today. So we're just trying to point out solutions because the reality is all we're doing here and what we're pointing out today is pointing you back to nature. We're trying to get you back
Exactly.
to the environment that you're talking about. And anytime you make an investment in yourself, you're always going to get literally this is based on engineering principles, statistical analysis, that anytime you invest in yourself, you get a 6x to 10x return, 6 to 10 times return. That is the best investment. You better than any stock market pick or buying gold or silver or getting Bitcoin, buying a piece of land and developing it, you know, private, whatever. There is no better investment than investing in yourself. and investing in your learning to improve your skill sets so you can serve people at a higher level, investing in your health so that you have vibrant energy and you can be an example and you don't get sick and you don't become a burden to yourself and other people. These are great investments. And to go down the list, it'd be like, if you're curious about what to invest in, invest to make sure that you have high quality, awesome air. Make sure that your water is awesome. Invest in your food. And what you're going to find out about that is that the lower you eat on the food chain, you buy in bulk, food actually becomes cheaper. And when you eat food and you have good water going in, you're going to eat half as much food. Like everybody that drinks our green juice, grocery bill's cut in half because now they're finally getting the nutrients that are farmed out of the food. So eating more nutritious food, people that live the longest are the healthiest, eat the most nutritious, but they eat the least amount of food because they're not hungry anymore. So good air, good water, good food. And then you have to have really good clothing. You got to make sure that your clothing, what you're adorning yourself with, is not synthetic fibers. Those are off gassing into your body and disrupting hormones. And your personal care products. If your toothpaste says harmful if swallowed, please contact the Poison Control Center. You might want to rethink putting that in your mouth moving forward because you're getting poisoned a little bit, aren't you? Every time you brush your teeth and swallow, absolutely. It's going through the mucous membrane in your mouth and you are swallowing a little bit of it. So you're just kind of poisoning yourself every time you swish with Listerine or whatever that stuff is and brush your teeth with, these other toothpaste with fluoride and toxins in them. So we have to just look at our environment, invest in high quality products. And a lot of this stuff you can make your own toothpaste with coconut oil, some baking soda, and some essential oils, maybe some neem or something like that. And then just stir it up and brush your teeth with it. There you go.
Tim, the reason why I love having these conversations with you, and the reason why we love partnering with you is because you don't take any shortcuts. You're committed to 100% quality, and you are just the right kind of obsessed. So that means, if it's not excellent, it doesn't leave your company, it doesn't get shipped out. Chemical Free Body is so committed to quality, that we love the products, we love the vibration that they send out, and we love that they actually support people where the support is needed and they do what they say they're going to do. Where can people find more of your wisdom? You do a lot of your own shows and podcasts and share knowledge with people. And where can they find the Water Hero system and all the other products that Chemical Free Body offers?
That's chemicalfreebody.com. My podcast is listed there under the media channel. We're over 270 episodes, I think, now. I've been doing one episode a week since fall of 2019. A lot of great interviews on there. People can just go in there and hit the search button. I'm looking to, whatever. I've got cancer, or I want to learn about sprouting, or I want to learn about water fasting. If you type something in about health or spiritual stuff, it's probably in there, right? Especially the health side of things. You can find some. If you find somebody that's really cool, I'll interview them. Just had a guy today said he's like started listening. He shut down all the other podcasts. Now I'm just listening to you. He's like, he was on drugs, prescription drugs, taking care of his autistic daughter, hurt his back, and they put him on the synthetic, pain stuff. And he became a synthetic prescription drug addict. And then he heard an episode where I was talking about caregivers and how the caregivers end up dying younger than the ones they're taking care of because it wears you out and the stress. And he's like, oh my God, I have to be able to take care of my daughter. I have to outlive my daughter. This is not an option anymore. And somehow, he called me up today. He's almost in tears. He's like, "You changed my life." I'm like, "Oh, dude, you changed your own life." But I provided him the frequency and some guidance through the shows. Now he's binge listening to the show. So there's a lot of good interviews in there and stuff like that. But you just go to chemicalfreebody.com/inspired. So I forgot to say /inspired. Or if you end up going directly there and you don't go through the inspired link, make sure you use inspired at checkout if you want to patronize us and get some awesome products. And you get a discount for doing that. And it helps fund Jean and Christine and their movement of spreading truth and freedom to everybody. And what we're all about here is learning to become our own doctors and learning how to self-heal and just going back to natural instincts. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, if you feel fear, that you're off track. If somebody's using fear to get you to do something, you should really pause on that and really examine your belief systems and maybe go talk to somebody else, and see if you can get some second and third opinions and stuff like that. Because fear is not going to serve you ever, unless a bear is running after you. Then it's very valid and you can use fear. But other than that, like, or if there's a fire in the house, okay, I need to get out of the house. I need cortisol and adrenaline to get out of here. I need to get away from the bear. Should get away from beer too. The beer, the bears, the beers, the bears, and the fires. Um, and But other than that, like, fear in general is creating poor chemistry inside of us. It's creating cortisol. It's just like a saber-toothed tiger's chasing us, or a bear. When we feel fear, that's watching the news, your alarm clock going off early in the morning that's noisy and loud, your husband or wife yelling at you, you're yelling at your husband or wife or kids, taking care of people. Again, the news, social media, all these things create a fear response on the nervous system, and it's destroying us because we're releasing all these chemicals and we're not burning through them and using them. So I would just say, let's get out of fear and let's move towards the light, the unconditional love, our core vibrational frequency. And one of the best ways of doing that is getting your water right. And so learning how to make structured water for free. And also, for those of you who want to take it to another level and structure water and the minerals inside of it, and add the frequency to it and charge the water up, so that it's very energized water. We have those water hero devices at chemicalfreebody.com/inspired, and we appreciate you guys.
Tim James, thank you for another great episode of amazing advice and pointers, and more importantly, of the upliftment and the empowerment. And this is really what this is all about, so that people can empower themselves and see a path,
Mm-hmm.
forward, rather than just doom and gloom. So thank you, brother, for everything you do, for everything that your company does, and for being a part of this new consciousness economy that we're building, that serves everyone and that is built on a win-win-win approach where there are no losers. I really believe in that. So thank you, brother. I so appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
And Inspire Tribe, thank you so much for tuning in. We love you, we appreciate you, and we will be back with you again very, very soon.